I want to share something with you that took me years to understand. Years of making mistakes that smarter people around me were not making. Years of wondering, what do they know that I don't?
And the answer, when I finally found it, was not complicated. It was not a secret formula. It was not something hidden in expensive courses or exclusive networks.
It was a set of lessons. Specific, clear, slightly uncomfortable lessons about how the world actually works, as opposed to how we were taught it works.
These are not lessons about being ruthless to others. They are lessons about being ruthless with yourself, with your assumptions, with the comfortable stories you tell about why things are the way they are.
And the people who know them, they move through the world differently. They make better decisions. They waste less energy. They are harder to manipulate. They are slower to react and faster to understand.
They are dangerously smart, not because they know more facts, but because they see more clearly.
Today, 8 lessons. Every one of them in real English, with everything you need to not just understand them, but to speak about them, apply them, and carry them with you permanently.
Stay with us, because this episode, it will change how you see things, not just in English, in everything. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Speak Unstoppable, the podcast where we help you speak English naturally and confidently through real, honest conversations.
I'm John.
And I'm Maria. So happy you're here with us today.
This episode is for B1 to B2 learners, intermediate to upper intermediate level English.
And before we go further, if you are not yet subscribed to Speak Unstoppable, please subscribe right now. One tap. And you will be part of a community that learns English the way it should be learned, through real conversations about real life. We release new episodes every week, and you do not want to miss them.
Subscribed? Good. Now let's get into 8 lessons that will change how you think, decide, and communicate forever.
How are you feeling today, John?
Honestly, sharp and slightly humbled. Because preparing these lessons, I realized how many of them I needed to hear again myself.
Same. Before we continue, thank you, really, for choosing to learn something this substantive today.
Let's go.
Okay, before we start, I want to ask you something.
What?
Think about the most intelligent person you know personally. Not the most educated. Not the person with the most information. The most genuinely intelligent. The one whose decisions you consistently respect. The one who seems to understand situations faster, more completely, more accurately than most people.
What is different about them?
In my experience, it is almost never what they know. It is how they think, the frameworks they use, the questions they ask, the things they refuse to assume.
They have lessons operating, quietly, that most people have never been taught explicitly.
And today, we make those lessons explicit. 8 of them. Clear, complete, and ready to use.
Maybe this is you. You are intelligent. You work hard. You try to understand situations well. And still, sometimes, you make the same mistakes. The same kind of judgment error. The same kind of being caught off guard.
Today, you understand why. And you get the tools to change it.
Lesson 1. And this one, it changes how you interpret almost every difficult situation you will ever face.
Most people are not against you. They are for themselves.
When someone takes credit for your work, it is almost certainly not because they specifically targeted you. It is because they are managing their own career, their own anxiety, their own needs, and your work happened to be useful to that.
When someone does not help you when you needed it, it is usually not hostility. It is their own priorities, their own capacity, their own fears taking precedence over your situation.
When someone does not respond to you quickly, when someone makes a decision that disadvantages you, when someone says something that feels like a slight,
In most cases, you were not the subject of their thinking. You were the periphery, the accidental consequence of decisions made in service of their own priorities.
periphery means the outer edge, not the center, not the focus.
And here is why this lesson is so powerful.
Because most people, when they feel wronged, overlooked, or disadvantaged, they assume intention. They assume they were the target. They assume hostility.
And from that assumption, they respond with hostility. Or they invest enormous emotional energy in a conflict that was never about them in the first place.
But the dangerously smart person, they ask first, is this actually about me? Or am I the periphery of someone else's story?
And the answer, most of the time, is periphery. And from that answer, a completely different, far more effective response becomes possible.
It is not personal, this English phrase. Most people say it, but do not really believe it. The dangerously smart person has examined enough situations to know it almost never is.
And knowing that, genuinely, it frees an enormous amount of energy. Energy that was being spent on conflict with people who were not even thinking about you.
Lesson 1. Most people are not against you. They are for themselves.
Lesson 2. And this is the one that is hardest to practice, but produces some of the most dramatic results.
Silence, in the right moment, is more powerful than any response you could give.
When someone provokes you, when someone makes a statement designed to get a reaction, to destabilize you, to prove something about you,
The expected response is a response, a defense, an argument, a justification, a counterattack.
and when you give the expected response, you give them something. Power, proof that their words affected you, confirmation that they have access to your reactions.
But when you say nothing, when you look at them calmly, without response, without engagement,
Something shifts. The provocation has nowhere to land. The bait was offered, and you did not take it.
and the person who offered the bait, they are now in a more difficult position than you, because they acted, and their action produced nothing.
And your silence said more than any argument could. It said, "Your words do not have authority over my reactions. You do not have that access."
This is not passive. This is not weakness.
Choosing silence, deliberately, consciously, in a moment when everything wants to respond, that is one of the highest expressions of self-control available.
And the English phrase, "I am not going to engage with that," it is sometimes the most powerful sentence in a conversation, because it ends the conversation on your terms.
Lesson 2. Silence is more powerful than any response.
Lesson 3. And this one is about something most people never notice until someone explains it.
Every conversation happens inside a frame, a set of assumptions about what the conversation is about, what the relevant issues are, who has the burden of proof.
And whoever defines the frame, controls the conversation. Because every response, however intelligent, happens within the frame, and responding within a frame implicitly accepts it.
Simple example. Someone says, "Why are you so defensive about this?"
The question contains a frame. The frame is, you are being defensive. And if you respond to the question, I'm not being defensive, you have accepted the frame. You are now defending yourself against the accusation of defensiveness.
But the dangerously smart person, they notice the frame, and they refuse to accept it implicitly.
I don't think I am being defensive. I think I am being specific about something I know well. Those are different things.
That response does not argue within the frame. It questions the frame itself. It offers a different description and puts the original framing up for examination.
And suddenly, the conversation is not about your defensiveness. It is about whether defensiveness is actually what is happening. An entirely different conversation.
Frame in this context means the underlying assumptions and terms that structure a discussion.
And recognizing frames and choosing whether to accept them or challenge them, it is one of the most practically powerful cognitive skills available.
Because most conversations are won or lost at the framing level before any argument is made.
Lesson 3. The person who defines the frame controls the conversation.
Lesson 4. And this one, once you understand it, makes almost every conflict make more sense.
Most conflicts, at the surface level, are about something specific. A decision, a behavior, a disagreement about facts or approach.
But at the deeper level, most conflicts are about identity, about how someone sees themselves, and about whether that self-image is being confirmed or threatened.
When someone becomes disproportionately angry about a small thing, the small thing is probably not the real issue.
Disproportionately means out of proportion, more intense than the situation warrants.
The real issue is usually, this situation touched something in them about who they believe themselves to be. And the threat to the self-image is what produced the disproportionate reaction.
And the dangerously smart person, in a conflict, they are always asking, what is the identity issue underneath this? What does this person need to feel about themselves right now?
Because if you can address the identity issue, even briefly, even indirectly, the surface conflict often resolves. Or, at minimum, becomes much more manageable.
I understand this matters a lot to you, and I respect your expertise in this area. This sentence addresses the identity before engaging the content, and it changes the temperature of everything that follows.
And for English learners, this is enormously important. Many English conversations that feel like linguistic failures are actually identity conflicts. The other person is not evaluating your English. They are managing their own discomfort, their own status, their own needs.
And understanding that, it removes the personal quality from interactions that felt personal and makes them navigable.
Lesson 4. Most conflict is about identity, not the issue.
Lesson 5. And this one connects to privacy, to power, and to the way information moves in the world.
Never reveal your full hand. Full hand. From card games. Never show all your cards at once.
The dangerously smart person is selective about what they reveal, about their plans, their capabilities, their resources, their intentions.
Not because they are deceptive, but because information, once released, cannot be recalled. And information about your plans, your capabilities, your next moves, it can be used for or against you. You cannot control which.
And the person who reveals their full hand prematurely, they lose several advantages simultaneously.
The advantage of surprise. The advantage of flexibility. The ability to change direction before others adjust. The advantage of being underestimated, which is a genuine strategic advantage in many situations.
Prematurely means too early, before the time is right.
And the specific English habit that represents revealing the full hand, over-explaining, justifying decisions at length, announcing plans before they are complete, sharing capabilities before they are needed.
All of these, they release information into the world that you cannot control once it is out.
And the dangerously smart person practices something specific. They say enough to be clear and honest, and not one word more than necessary.
Not mystery for its own sake. Precision, saying exactly what needs to be said, and protecting everything else.
Lesson 5. Never reveal your full hand.
Lesson 6. And this one? It is counterintuitive in the most interesting way.
Most people assume that the most powerful person in a room is the most visibly confident, the one speaking most, the one performing authority most clearly.
But the dangerously smart observer notices something different. The most dangerous person in the room, the one whose judgment you should most respect, whose actions are most difficult to predict, is the one who appears to have nothing to prove.
Who does not need your approval of their ideas, who does not need to win the argument, who does not need to be the most impressive person present.
Because when you have nothing to prove, you are free. Free to see clearly. Free to say what is true rather than what is impressive. Free to act based on what is actually useful rather than what confirms your status.
And this freedom, it produces better decisions, more accurate assessments, more effective action.
And it also produces something more subtle. The person who clearly does not need to impress, they are inherently more impressive. Because their actions are not performances. They are genuine.
Counterintuitive means going against what seems natural or obvious at first.
And for English learners, this is one of the most liberating lessons. You do not need to prove your English is perfect. You do not need to prove you belong in the conversation.
When you approach English communication with nothing to prove, just something to say, the quality and confidence of your communication improves immediately.
Because the self-consciousness, the performance of competence, it is what creates the hesitation, the anxiety, the mistakes.
Communicate with nothing to prove, just something genuine to express. And watch what changes.
Lesson 6. The most dangerous person in the room is the one with nothing to prove.
Lesson 7. And this is the lesson about reading people accurately.
You cannot know someone from their best behavior. Their best behavior is prepared, practiced, managed. It tells you who they want to be seen as.
But their behavior under pressure, when resources are tight, when something is at stake, when things are not going well, that tells you who they actually are.
Under pressure means in a difficult or demanding situation. When conditions are challenging,
The person who is warm and generous when everything is going well and withdraws when you need them in a difficult moment, You have learned something important.
The colleague who is collaborative when there is plenty to go around and becomes competitive when resources are scarce. You have learned something important.
The partner who is patient when life is easy and unkind when life is hard. You have learned something important.
This is not cynicism. This is discernment. The ability to read people based on complete evidence, not just the evidence they choose to present.
And the practical application, when you need to assess someone genuinely, observe them in at least one situation where something is difficult, where there is pressure, where what they do costs them something.
Because what they do there, that is the information.
And for English learners, this applies directly. How you handle a difficult English moment, a misunderstanding, a mistake, a situation where you cannot find the words, that reveals the quality of your English character.
Do you retreat? Apologize excessively? Give up the attempt?
Or do you stay present? Repair gracefully? Keep engaging despite the imperfection.
That behavior, under linguistic pressure, it is who you are as an English speaker. And it is the behavior most worth developing.
Lesson 7. What people do under pressure is who they actually are.
Lesson 8. The final one, and perhaps the most practical.
The quality of your questions determines the quality of your understanding.
Most people, when they do not understand something, either stay silent or ask a question that stays at the surface. Can you explain that more? What do you mean?
These are fine questions. They are better than silence, but they produce surface-level answers to surface-level questions.
The dangerously smart person asks a different kind of question. A question that goes to the center of what they want to understand.
What would have to be true for this to be correct?
What is the assumption underneath this that I am being asked to accept?
What would change about your recommendation if this one factor were different?
What is the strongest argument against your own position?
These questions, they produce different answers, deeper answers, more honest answers, because they require the person being asked to go beyond their prepared response.
And the answers to these questions, they tell you far more than the answers to surface questions.
And in English, this matters enormously, because one of the greatest barriers to genuine English communication is staying at the surface level, using safe, simple questions, because the more precise ones feel linguistically risky.
But your English, at whatever level, is already capable of more precision than you typically use. The limiting factor is not the language. It is the habit of surface questioning.
Ask more precise questions. In English, about the world around you, about the things you want to understand.
And discover that the precision of your questions, not the complexity of your vocabulary, is what determines the depth of your understanding.
Lesson 8. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your understanding. Can I say something about what connects all 8 of these lessons?
Please.
Every single one of them, at their core, is about seeing clearly, about removing the automatic assumptions, the comfortable stories, the defensive interpretations, and seeing what is actually there.
Most people see the world through the filter of what they expect to see, what they were taught to see, what is comfortable to see.
And the dangerously smart person, they have done the work of examining those filters. Not eliminating them, that is impossible, but knowing they exist and accounting for them.
I expect this is about me, but Is it actually? I am assuming this person is hostile, but is there another explanation? I am accepting this frame, but should I?
These questions, applied consistently, they do not make life simpler. They make it more accurate. And accuracy, in decisions, in relationships, in communication, it produces better outcomes than comfort does.
And for English learners, this is the deepest lesson of all. Most English limitations are not linguistic. They are perceptual.
My English is not good enough to say this. Is this actually true? Or is this a comfortable story that protects you from the risk of attempting?
I will be judged for my accent. Is this actually what happens? Or is this an assumption from a fear, not from evidence?
Examine the filters. In your English, in your life, in the stories you tell about what is and is not possible for you.
And what you discover when the filters are examined is almost always that things are more possible than the filters allowed you to see.
Remember this: dangerous intelligence is not knowing more. It is seeing more clearly. And seeing more clearly, it is available to anyone willing to examine what they assumed was simply true.
Say it again.
Dangerous intelligence is not knowing more. It is seeing more clearly. And seeing more clearly, it is available to anyone willing to examine what they assumed was simply true.
Examine. See clearly. And become dangerously smart, starting today. Word tour time. Key words from today.
Word 1. Periphery. The outer edge, not the center or focus. Example 1. Once she understood she was the periphery of their decision, not the target, the conflict lost its personal quality entirely. Example 2. When you are learning English, you are never the periphery of a native speaker's attention. Most people are genuinely glad to communicate.
Recognize when you are the periphery. It removes the personal quality from situations that felt personal. And that removal frees enormous energy.
Word 2. Disproportionate. Out of proportion, more intense than the situation warrants. Example 1. His disproportionate reaction revealed the identity issue underneath the surface conflict. Example 2. Disproportionate English anxiety, fear larger than the actual risk, is one of the most common barriers to fluency. Name it. Examine it.
Notice disproportionate reactions in others and in yourself. They almost always point to something more important than the surface situation.
Word 3. Frame. In this context, the underlying assumptions and terms that structure a discussion or situation. Example 1. She refused to accept the frame of the question and offered a different one that reflected the situation more accurately. Example 2. The frame most English learners accept, I am not good enough yet, it is a frame, not a fact. It can be replaced.
Notice the frames you accept automatically. In conversations, in your self-perception, in your English story. Frames are not facts, and they can always be questioned.
Word 4. Underestimated. Judged to be less capable or significant than one actually is. Example 1. She was consistently underestimated and used it as a strategic advantage, allowing people to lower their guard before demonstrating her full capability. Example 2. English learners who are underestimated by others, who are assumed to not understand, they often receive more honest information than people assume they can process.
Being underestimated is uncomfortable, and it is also sometimes an advantage. The dangerously smart person knows this and uses it.
Word 5. Discernment. The ability to judge situations and people accurately and wisely, based on complete evidence, not just comfortable evidence. Example 1. Years of observation had given her a discernment about people that made her difficult to manipulate. Example 2. Develop discernment about your English progress, based on actual performance evidence, not on feelings of inadequacy.
Build discernment. In people reading. In situation assessment. In your evaluation of your own English. Evidence over feeling. Accuracy over comfort.
Word 6. Counterintuitive. Going against what seems natural or obvious at first. Example 1. The most counterintuitive lesson. Having nothing to prove produces more authority than trying to prove everything is also the most reliable one. Example 2. Counterintuitively, speaking imperfect English confidently is more effective than speaking perfect English hesitantly. Confidence communicates. Hesitation undermines.
Trust the counterintuitive. It is usually where the most important and least obvious truths live.
One thing this week.
Choose one of the 8 lessons, the one that felt most relevant to your life right now.
Just one. And apply it deliberately this week. In one specific situation.
Notice the frame in a conversation. Stay silent when the automatic response wants to speak. Ask a deeper question instead of a surface one.
And here is your sentence template for today.
The lesson I am applying this week is underscore. The situation I am applying it to is underscore. And what I expect to see differently because of it is underscore.
Say it now, out loud, with your real lesson and your real situation.
The lesson I am applying this week is underscore. The situation I am applying it to is underscore. And what I expect to see differently because of it is underscore.
Fill in your answers honestly. Apply deliberately. And observe what changes. Comment challenge time.
One question. Which of the 8 lessons was the one you most needed to hear today?
Right. The lesson I needed most is underscore. Because underscore. And I am applying it by underscore.
Write it. In English. In the comments. Right now.
We read every single comment. Every one.
Please give this a like if this episode sharpened how you see things.
Subscribe to Speak Unstoppable. New episodes every week.
Thank you for being here today.
Dangerous intelligence is not knowing more.
It is seeing more clearly.
Examine your assumptions.
See clearly.
And become dangerously smart.
Starting today.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.